guys, welcome back to the Good Physician Podcast. This is our last episode with you guys, so we wanted to say thank you for tuning in.
This was a school project that we were assigned to make, and we have had so much fun making this and sharing it with y'all. But back to this episode. Today we are going to be diving back into what happened with the church and medicine from the ages of 600 AD to 1500 AD.
Yeah, this episode we will be talking about topics like plague, surgery, monks providing medicine, and a lot of other pretty cool stuff.
And we have had some super important developments that have shaped modern medicine that occurred during this time.
Well, on that note, let's jump right in.
Okay, so before we start talking about medieval medicine, we need to talk about how medicine didn't start as science in the way that we think it did.
Right, in the early ages, we humans didn't see disease as natural. If you got sick, it wasn't seen as a bacteria. It could be a demon, a curse, or an angry god.
Treatments reflected this. People used herbs, sure, but they also used spells to remove that illness.
Yeah, and there was also this crazy practice called trepanning, where they would drill holes into the person's skull to let evil spirits out.
Which sounds super scary, but surprisingly, people survived this, which is wild to me.
So treatments included herbs and early medicine, but also spiritual rituals like trepanning.
But there was a real progress to it. It wasn't all just superstition.
Ancient cultures studied herbs and recorded remedies, kind of like the pharmacology we have and use today.
That trial and error approach helped lay the groundwork for actual medicine later on.
Now this is where Christianity really starts to change things.
Instead of abandoning the sick, Christians believed every person had dignity.
They cared for the poor, weak, and the dying, even when it was dangerous.
And this led to the development of early hospitals and hospices.
Not just places to drop people off, but places built specifically to care for them.
And this made healthcare something more than just survival. It became a moral responsibility.
Like if you love God, you have to care for the people who are suffering. Okay, so one of the biggest contributions during the Middle Age was the preservation of knowledge.
Monks played a huge role in this preservation.
They copied and preserved ancient Greek and Roman medical texts by hand.
Which is honestly the only reason a lot of that knowledge survived at all.
Monasteries became centers of learning and healing.
Like they weren't just praying all day, they were growing herbs, treating patients, and studying medicine.
Some monks even became trained physicians.
And they treated both the body and the soul, which was super important in the Christian belief. Okay, so surgery also began improving during this time.
Yeah, especially in places like Italy and France.
There were surgeons who started focusing on treating wounds, fractures, and injuries more effectively.
Some even emphasized keeping wounds clean instead of just letting them get infected, which was a big deal.
And there was also a push to reconnect surgery with general medicine instead of treating it like a separate thing.
Which honestly sounds like common sense now, but back then it was a huge advancement in medicine. Okay, so now we have to talk about one of the most intense parts of this period, the Black Death.
There was a massive plague in the 1300s that killed about 25 million people in Europe.
That was a third of their population.
And the disease spread super fast through trade routes and especially by ships.
People would get sick and die within just a few days, and honestly, doctors at the time were pretty much powerless against it.
Many fled cities out of fear, but what was interesting is that a lot of clergy and religious stayed behind.
They cared for the sick, gave last rites, and buried the dead, even though they knew they might die too.
Which many of them did.
That kind of sacrifice really shows how seriously they took care for those around them.
So throughout all of this, medicine wasn't just physical, it was also spiritual.
People believed that healing involved the whole person as body, mind, and soul.
And even when they didn't have cures, they still gave comfort, care, and dignity, which is still a huge part of healthcare today.
Even though this time period didn't have modern technology, it gave us some of the most important foundations of medicine.
It gave us hospitals, preserved knowledge, and compassion in care.
Not to mention the idea that every human life is valuable.
They also preserved knowledge that would later lead to the scientific breakthroughs.
And showed that faith and science can actually work together. A focus on treating the whole person, body, and their soul. Okay, but why does this matter to us?
It shows that even without perfect knowledge, people can still choose compassion and that caring for others isn't just a job.
It's a calling.
We can live this out by helping others, volunteering, or even going into healthcare ourselves.
Or just being there for someone who's struggling. Because at the end of the day, that's what all of this was about. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you and see you later.